And now we have a very special guest from Israel. For obvious reasons, he couldn't be here with us, even though he had planned to. But he's very kind to join us online and share some of the secrets of Israeli fintech ecosystem. So please, let's offer a very warm welcome to Tal Sharon, president of Fintech Aviv, the Israeli Fintech Association. Welcome, Tal, and our deepest sympathies for what you are living right now in Israel, and deepest sympathies for your people.
Thank you, Ramzan. Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here with you. It's unfortunate I couldn't arrive. I was planning, everything was set up, but at least we have the opportunity just to have a small taste. And I promise to come to next edition, and I'm looking forward to visit Romania very soon. So thank you for the opportunity. And although we have a short amount of time, I hope I'll be able to deliver some value to the audience.
Yeah, for sure. So please share with us what you are doing very good in the Israeli fintech ecosystem. I know that it's a very vibrant one, and with a lot of fintech startups. So please, maybe you can do some kind of overview of your ecosystem and what were the measures you've took to build it and to grow the number of fintechs.
Okay, wonderful. So yes, there's a lot of activity going on in Israeli fintech, and a lot I can share with you. I want to share my screen for a second, maybe a few words about myself, so the audience will also know, and I'll get to know them. So my name is Tal. I'm 38. In the past 10 years, I've been heavily involved in global and Israeli fintech, working with multinationals, financial institutions, regulators, governments on fintech transformation, mostly. The thing I'm most keen about is embedded finance. I think that's what I've been preaching for the past several years. And definitely what will be, I think, the next generation of fintech. I'll talk more about this in a second. In my background, I teach a lot of fintech, built some fintech courses in both Israeli and global universities, teaching in say financial institution on internal innovation or internal fintech innovation. So fintech has been my bread and butter for the past 10 years. And Israel is probably one of the most active places for fintech globally. I'm going to share with you my screen in a second. And I want to share just a little bit, a taste of the Israeli fintech. So give me just a second. All right. Okay, perfect. So you can see my screen. Wonderful. So short about, I don't know how much you heard about and know about the Israeli landscape in general, but why does Israel produce so many entrepreneurs? Not even just fintech in particular, but generally. There are four main reasons. We're a population of just a shy of 9 million people, meaning it's not a valid market. Most of the companies aren't approaching with a BTC product to the Israeli market. And when they're looking where can they deploy their solution, they're looking for a global market that have more opportunity. So that's the first. The second one is we have a lot of governmental support. If it's in different laws and jurisdictions, a lot of supporting for incoming investments. There are economic attaches around the world. You have one with you. I think Abigail is with you in the audience, and she was they were the one also to introduce me to future banking, and this happens globally. So we have, I think, about 20 initiatives like that to connect the Israeli landscape or the Israeli business landscape with global markets. Another thing in the government, I think, initiative is we're surrounded by a lot of hostile and unfriendlies, let's say, to say the very least, and we feel that currently, I'd say, in the most significant way. But it comes to mind, what can we export? So we don't have a lot of, we do stroke some gas, but we don't have a lot of resources to share. So the best thing we can share is knowledge. And the government is continuously providing support if it's for startup, if it's for education towards technology, and we became one of the largest exports for tech globally. If we, based on capita, actually, interesting enough, we're the second largest country with listed companies in the Nasdaq. So the US and then Israel. So a lot of innovation is coming out from Israel. The third, and that's a very crucial thing, is the mandatory draft. Myself, I was in missile boats and submarines. We all do mandatory draft, men and women, 2 years for women, 3 years for men. And it's not only if you're in intelligence units, right, where you go out and you have a lot of cyber skill to share with commercially. Even if if you're a fighter like me, you deal with life-threatening situation. You deal with a lot of pressure. You have to set goals and achieve them. A lot of entrepreneurship skills that help, regardless if you're going to open a coffee shop or launch a global startup. You're much well equipped when you're 22 than probably most of 22's year old out there around the world. So this is a huge has a huge impact on innovation in Israel and globally. And the fourth, and that's a very interesting fact, is we have a very strong culture of diversity. So in Israel, what is called the law of return, meaning that any Jewish person can claim citizenship in Israel. And throughout the years of our existence, the 75 years we exist, a lot of Jewish people came from around the world. So if I'm a startup and I want to focus on a global challenge in, let's say, India, it's very easy for me to find people who live there and came to Israel, who can help me with the language barrier, with mentality barrier, with understanding the landscape. And it goes to almost any jurisdiction or any market you can imagine. So if we compare an Israeli startup with these four value propositions or values that connected to it, and take, for example, a German-based startup that is focused on the German market and only in German, because it's large enough. It doesn't need on day one to grow outside. But on day two, when they want to grow outside, Israeli startups have much more capability, are more capable of growing outside to new regions and growing into new markets, just because from day one we're starting like that. So this is really generally about entrepreneurship in Israel. And if we drill down to fintech, so we rank second globally in the amount of investment in fintech per capita. 70% of total investment is done by foreign investors and multinationals, which means that a lot of capital is being injected globally towards Israel, which also produce a lot of startups that are looking outwards towards global markets, because that's where investors come from. That's where the opportunity is. We have more than 5,500 fintech startups, and 90% of them have global market focus. Most of them aren't even providing services in Israel, because it's such an off market. It's the language is different, the jurisdiction, the regulatory framework, a lot of things are different, and the Israeli regulator is doing a lot of work in order to try to connect, especially EU and Israel, in terms of regulatory framework, so more companies will be able to provide services the same as they provide in the UK or Germany or Benelux or the CEE, but also in Israel, if the regulatory framework remains coherent and it allows more fintech companies to provide services here. And we have more than $10 billion invested since 2022. Of course, this year has been very, very difficult. I'd say past 2 years, but still we see a lot of capital injection towards Israel. It's not only in investment, it's also in actually opening R&D centers and scouting for technologies. Personally, I've hosted hundreds of delegations throughout the past 10 years of multinationals, financial institutions, large fintechs who are looking to either work with fintech startups, invest or purchase. So it's extremely active and vibrant. And this also signals the market, this is an interesting topic. So it kind of create this revolving matrix of there's a lot of interest. Young people with great ideas are saying, okay, what will be my next endeavor? Wow, there's a lot of going on in fintech. Let's explore this avenue. And the cycle creates more and more startups, and just it keeps going together. Some of the unicorns that you might heard of in fintech. So we have the Payoneer, Pagaya, Rapid, eToro, which I think also providing services in Romania. InsurTech is also a very large segment in Israel. We have Hippo and Lemonade. I'm pretty confident you heard about Lemonade. They made a lot of noise in the US market. And as you can see, I'd say 90% of the startups that you see here are not providing services in Israel, only in their target markets. So that's a very important part. I want to talk to you a little bit. Many people ask me, so, okay, we understand what is going on in Israel, but how can that affect us? How can we as a small medium market become such a fintech leader in our region, globally? And we don't have the characteristic of the Israeli landscape. Sorry. So you don't have to have the entire characteristic of the Israeli landscape in order to create a sustainable fintech ecosystem. And I think the best example for that is two really good examples are Lithuania and Estonia, two countries that weren't really significant on the fintech landscape or even tech landscape. In 2017 in Lithuania, the Bank of Lithuania started an initiative to launch more EMIs. And I was working a lot with the Bank of Lithuania at the time, creating really a protocol which companies can come and get a license for a PI or an EMI and start working in the rest of the European market. Now, combining with the Brexit, it created an effect that Lithuania is currently, I think, the second largest EMI providers in European market, with a lot of investment coming into the market. They have now hundreds of fintech startups with several unicorns. So it really transformed from, in 2017, Lithuania was a market where young minds were run away from. They didn't have a job, they didn't have opportunities, or they were looking outside to the rest of the, let's say, Latvian market, other countries to go to and find jobs. Currently, that's completely the opposite. It became a market that people want to come into. Investors, multinationals, foreign banks are opening subsidiaries, R&D centers. So, and they don't have the characteristic as an Israeli market. And they're even smaller than Israel. I think it's 2.5 million people. So what do we really need in order to create a fintech ecosystem? So there's the law of seven. There's the 7 elements to create a fintech stable, a stable fintech ecosystem. And the 4 initial ones are pretty straightforward. So you need to have financial institutions, startups, regulators, and investors. Now you have that in every market, different sizes and different variations of it, and different, I'd say, part of a portion of activity. Some are more active than others. But in order to connect all the dots together, you need to have 3 more. First is education. You have to educate the lower level or the younger level, let's say the younger generation, towards technology, towards fintech. Why is that important? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities there, in order to open their mind to new innovation and keep this cycle of innovation going? The second is market awareness. And it's something that I ask in almost any conference that I present or join. How many people do you think, if we'll go outside of, if I was physically there, then we would go outside. But if you'll go outside and ask people, what is fintech? What is your interaction with fintech? Even if they are using an app, or they might not even know it's fintech. They might not even know that that's what we're talking about. And that's the market awareness I'm talking about. So it's really important to encourage I'd say, the financial institutions and the regulators, especially, to create more market awareness in new initiatives, in products. It can be small features. It doesn't matter. The point is that the more people we use fintech, the more that they'll see the opportunity. Not to mention, it will ease their financial lives, but also they will be more prone to create more innovation. And lastly is community. As Lesvan mentioned, in 2014, I created the Israeli FinTech ecosystem, Israeli FinTech Association, sorry. Currently one of the largest FinTech communities globally. We have over 40,000 members hosting events with local and global partners. And throughout, the almost decade that we're working, we saw that the importance of the community, because that's where people come to ask questions. That's where people come to share knowledge and to obtain knowledge. So let's say that you don't have a community, and you have a great idea, but what's next? Who do you ask? Will you talk to the CTO of ING to get some information if it's a valid idea? How do you even start? So having a community is having a place where you can interact and engage and get more knowledge about the topic that you want to explore, and find even partners for it. So connecting all the dots together will get really a thriving fintech ecosystem. Now, you need to have active parts in all of them, but if you make the certain alignment in every one of them, you create a matrix-like environment when one is feeding the other, and you don't even need external forces. It will come to light with just the level of interest that rises if you're able to connect all the dots. And a lot of my projects have been, how can we even connect these dots together in Madrid, in Bulgaria, now in Canada. So it's really, even market that you think are very progressive, they're not really connected in a way that can create this type of environment. And again, a really great example of it is Lithuania. So I'll leave you with that in terms of my presentation. And maybe to summarize, I want to touch on two main trends that are globally, and it's there's no doubt that this is where fintech is going to. So first is bundling. If you remember 5 to 6, 7 years ago, a fintech company would be, okay, we're a payment company, we're an insurtech company, we're very specific product. And the reason was, we want to compete with the financial institutions. Now, the financial institutions providing a wide variety of value proposition and how can we extract from it something, a very particular value proposition, and become the best at it. So in order to do that, they were focusing on one particular segment. But currently, market have changed, the level of interest and the capacity for innovation has changed, and it's come to a fact that bundling creates additional value proposition. So several examples. If I'm a company that doing remittance, like Remitly, or there's a Wirecash in the US. So Wirecash are sending money allowing to send money from the US to Ghana and the rest of the African countries. So they create their income from the transaction fee, right? Anytime you send money, they get some money from it. But in order to multiply and amplify it, they added an availability to pay for the insurance for the person you're sending money to. So that's an example of bundling that we have. Sure, I've just been noted a few more minutes. I have like several hours that I can talk to you, but So bundling is one, and we can go down to different a lot of other examples that are currently being made, and it's just about if you have already the client base, if you have I think the word I'm missing here is trust. If you have the trust of the customers, you can apply additional value proposition, even if it's not in your core value proposition, especially in fintech, because you're still revolving around finance and financial instruments. The second one is, and I started mentioning that in the beginning, is embedded finance. And it goes a lot of ways, and people are looking at embedded finance in different manners. But in my point of view, embedded finance is taking financial services and deploying it in non-financial engagements. The best example is Shopify. Shopify is a non-fintech company, but they generate 50% of their revenues from financial services. So all these companies that have great engagement with their customer base can deploy and apply additional financial instruments. You can take Uber as probably the most common example, right? Uber is not a fintech company, but you pay seamlessly. That's one. But not why stop there? They have this huge amount of drivers that they pay their salary from. Okay, so why not providing them with financing, with lending? We're already paying their salaries. So one, we're a trusted vendor. They have no problems in receiving an additional financial aid from us because they trust us. Two, we reduce the delinquency or the rate of not getting the money back to almost minimal because we pay their salary. So it's actually an added value. And instead of having a company that is focused on providing, let's say, early wage access for drivers, you have the company that are already working with the drivers and have the relationship, just adding it as a feature. So the movement I'm talking about is moving from fintech companies to utilizing fintech features within existing companies. And I can give examples to a lot of different companies. There's others I did some work with. If it's DHL is not a fintech company, but their correspondence with their interactions with their clients allow them just a place to engage with them and deploy additional financial services. So I pretty wrapped up on what I wanted to deliver to you, and really I just touch on a very small portion of it. I would be happy to see you all at lunch and have a discussion. But first, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to create some interactions and see what can evolve from that. And hopefully, I'll be coming to Romania soon. So maybe it'll be an opportunity to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Tal. And we have, I guess, time for one question if there is anyone in the room to ask. Yeah, there's Nick from the Romanian Fintech Association.
Hello, Tal. Nice to meet you. Hopefully, we'll meet soon in Romania, and the war in your country will finish sooner. I'd like to thank you very much for the presentation. Our association is only 3 years old. It's not like 10 years old like yours. But of course, you have more startups, more members than we have. So maybe I just try to connect with you. Maybe you say yes to my connection request on LinkedIn, and stay in touch and work together with the Romanian Fintech Association in the future. And good luck and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. I'd be delighted.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
and yes, if anyone has additional questions, you can find me on LinkedIn very easily, and I'll be more than happy to help.
Stay strong, and hope to see you next year in Romania.
Thank you. We'll do my best. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.